Hey guys, this is Hell Hades and this is going to be another Raid Shadow Legends video. Today we're going to talk about the upcoming patch 1.13. There's going to be a number of things that we already know about, and then there's going to be a bit of speculation in this video. But we're mid-January now. I would expect to see this patch released before the end of January, but we haven't been given an official date yet. But there are some things that have been either hinted at or discussed openly with the community, so I'm going to try and bring all those things together and just kind of run through them one by one. So firstly, we know that Tallman is due a nerf. We've already been compensated for that, so anyone who fused Tallman would have already have got 2 legendary books before Christmas and before the end of December. But we know that there's been a lot of discussion around his kit and whether he is kind of fit for purpose. So my personal view is that his passive is a bit too ridiculous. And what it's doing is it's making the arena become too RNG focused. I like Tallman, I love the idea of Tallman, I like the idea that he breaks up the meta, but actually what he's done is he's swung the meta too far and made the game kind of a bit ridiculous in arena. If you've got somebody that's rocking a Tallman that's got 500 plus accuracy, then you basically can't run anyone with a speed up. You can't run anyone that's got immortal gear on. You can't run anyone who's got masteries which manipulate turn meter like these ones. You can't run anybody that's going to gain some sort of heal or shield through their own abilities, like Madame Cerise here has got a passive. This can proc Tallman's ability. You can't run anyone who starts with any sort of ability buff. You can't really run multi-buffers because they're going to get frozen. There's just so many people that completely get ruled out of the game because of one passive skill. So I'm hoping what they're going to do is change this passive. I think the rest of his kit, by the way, is fantastic. I really love it. But I hope what they do is they change this passive so that it only procs when somebody applies a speed up or a buff, or somebody gets healed. All of those things through an ability. I don't think they should proc when you've got certain gear sets making it proc, and I don't think it should proc through masteries. That's my view. I'm sure loads of people don't want a nerf. I tell you what, if everybody gets a nerf, then it affects everybody. So if you're sitting there thinking I've got this great champion and I don't want him to be nerfed, forget it. It's actually making the game, the arena style game, more boring. So you need to nerf. I think it should come, and that's what I think should happen. So that's Tallman. Pretty certain the changes are going to come in 1.13. That's what it feels like. I'm sure they're just kind of working through how severe the nerf should be. They don't want it to be too severe and get a load of community backlash, which I understand. But he definitely needs a change, in my opinion. So second one, which we know about, is that there are going to be some changes to the Unkillable comp. So this was dropped in the forum, the official raid forums, a couple of days ago. Basically, we know that the Unkillable teams are not working in the way, or I guess raid didn't really appreciate that these Unkillable teams would be built. Certainly not Unkillable teams that are kind of level 4 rares, basically carrying a full team into the end game, Ultra Nightmare boss, and enabling people to kind of build cheese teams that don't require any kind of thought or kind of play style. So in my opinion, actually, there's a couple of things to this. Firstly, congrats to the guys that went out their way and actually made this happen. So there's a lot of thinking around build compositions, around champions that can make this work, around some of the speed you need to make this work. I've seen a couple of guys that have gone to the lengths of absolutely working through the maths of this in terms of what speeds do we need if we've only got 2 unkillable champions. What happens if you throw a couple of painkeepers in? What champions can actually work for your poisoning? How do you need to build them? So there was a hell of a lot of thought that went into these teams, and I think for me that's actually pretty genius theory crafting that's made that work. But I do agree to a certain extent that they're not great for the community overall to have such an easy kind of build in terms of rares. That means you get 100% unkillable providing you pull 1 or 2 of the kind of main champions for it. So I think it's right that they should nerf it, and also quite like the idea that they're nerfing it to a degree that means they're not unusable anymore. They're just not going to do kind of 1 key territory damage. So it'd be interesting to see what they actually do. They do kind of detail out some of the decisions they're making in this post, which if you go to the main forums, it's in the news section. But this is, I think, the right move. They do need to nerf it. I'd just be interested to see how far they go with the nerf. So that's Unkillable teams. I believe, so if you have one already, let's see what comes in terms of the nerf. I think they'll still be usable. If you don't have one, I would just wait before you invest any kind of time and energy in building anything like that, just to see what actually comes. So the next thing I want to talk about is just a couple of champion changes that we know are coming. So they've talked about the fact there's going to be a couple of definite champion buffs in terms of legendaries. I know that they have already talked about my good friend who I'm leveling up. Where is he? Mr. Meme. So I know Shamrock's going to be getting a buff. I think Cephalia's getting a buff as well. I don't have a full list of the details yet, so it's a bit of a watch this space, but they did kind of call out a couple of names earlier in December again. So yeah, just want to be, I'm really interested to see what they do. I hope they buff at least kind of 10 legendaries and 10 epics, just to try and get some more champions that are viable for endgame. But again, let's see what they bring. I know as a group of YouTube kind of content creators, we're constantly trying to fly this flag that there's champions that need a buff. And some of the buffs can be so small to make a champion really viable, but there's too many really that sit in this space, in the vault, and probably, I wouldn't say they're unusable, because actually most champions, if you give them the right gear and the right setup, they're pretty good. But you know, there are some, take this guy for instance, he's just Oathbound, he's just awful. I can't see a use for him really. So anyway, that's point 3. So the last thing I want to talk about is this this little snippet that's been released on Discord today. So Cirilla's just posted up a couple of pictures around some of the work that's coming in 1.13. This for me is like the most exciting thing. It's quite sad really, but it's the most exciting thing I think we're going to get in this new patch. So basically we're going to get gear sorting, and gear sorting is so needed in this game. I think Stu Gaming has actually mentioned a couple of the other gotcha games that he plays has kind of got this facility. I have never played a different one, so for me this is going to be kind of new news. But one of the most frustrating things for me is when I'm trying to gear out a champion and I cannot see specific items that I'm looking for. So just looking at the functionality that's kind of clear on this image, it looks like we're going to be able to sort by main stat, by substats. It looks like we're going to be able to sort by a specific type of item, so headgear, boots, something like that. It looks like we're going to be able to sort whether they are equipped on somebody already or not equipped. For me, I'm hoping there's also going to be something that says, you know, I want 3 different stats and this is my priority, but I'm not sure. I can't get any more detail out of it yet. But even if that's not there, this feels like a quality of life lifesaver for anyone who's kind of trying to gear between a number of different champions. For me, because I do a lot of content around different champs and I'm trying to get the right gear to make that work, it's an absolute, you know, it will be a godsend to me. So yeah, it looks like this will be a really cool improvement. I hope it definitely does come in 1.13. It feels like it's probably going to, because they're obviously playtesting it somewhere. I think I can see some Plarium headed notepaper there, so I'm guessing it's going to be in a meeting that's gone on over the last couple of days. But yeah, I mean that kind of concludes really the stuff we know about 1.13. For me, all of those 4 changes are really positive actually, and hopefully there's a couple of other bits that come alongside it as well. But yeah, it looks like good things are happening for us in 1.13. This has been Hell Hades, and this is me checking out.